first and foremost, let me just tell you, get comfortable, I am not an instructor, so I won't ask for notes, there won't be statistics, there won't be anything like that. I'm only going to talk about what psychology means to me, what I've experienced, and open it up for questions later on. So it's pretty simplistic. I was asked to talk about the psychology as a constant driver in the workforce. Well, it's interesting because the workforce to me means various things, because I've worked for the United States Air Force, I've worked for the federal government, I've worked for trash companies, which is an interesting concept all by itself, and then of course different universities and colleges. So some of the content we're going to cover is the science of people at work. We're going to talk a little bit about what human resources does, or what human resources management means, and how psychology is applicable in those fields. We'll talk about discovering one's motivation, because as I evolve, and I don't like saying get older, so I'll say as I evolve, I understand that my motivation changes, and I'm pretty sure yours will as time goes on as well. We need to also keep in mind of our demographic. Oh, and by the way, I'm a mover, so the podium won't be used at all tonight. The differentiation in cultures, I'll talk a little bit about what I've seen, where I've been, things I've done right and things I've done extremely wrong. We'll talk about unspoken rules and issues, body language, priming, social exchange theory, and harassment. When I say harassment, yes, I work in human resources, but I mean something totally different, so hang tight. So let's talk a little bit about the science of people at work. So when you're talking about human resources, I'll say past human resources, a lot of the things that they talked about was statistical. You have this person, this is the job we want, they say on paper that these are the things that they can do. So this must be the right person for the job. A plus B equals C. So if that was truly the case, why was there such a high turnover in every job I worked for? Because the resume said that they can type 65 words a minute, and we never tested them, but they must be able to do the job because it's on the resume. What we found out was not only do people lie, but we don't do our due diligence either in trying to figure out, what would motivate a person to put that information on there? What was the driving factor? Is it typing that we wanted? Is that what the job description did they match the job description to what they really could do, or is it just, why was the job so important that they would risk it? Because honestly, the turnover at some of the companies were as quick as 2 days. But we'll talk a little bit about that. Which leads me into the form of communication. I've worked in countries, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but when I say communication was something, I pride myself on being able to communicate to anybody. I can talk to anybody, I can have a great conversation with anyone, unless you live in Japan, Italy, Germany, England, places I have no idea how to correspond. So if I'm communicating with you all, it makes perfect sense. But if I can't speak your language, what else are you looking for? Like, what else could I say that you would understand that what I'm saying is what I mean if I can't speak your language? What I'm finding is that's the same thing that's happening in the United States. I can sit down and have a conversation with someone and say, this is your job description, this is what you're going to do, this is how we're going to do it. And I never ask the magic questions. Do you understand? Everybody just nods. Okay, so I'm going to send you out there and we're going to go ahead and do it. And then I find out later on that they had no idea what I meant. And they just decided that I'm going to do it the way that she told me to do it in the way I heard it. So communicating is very important. But what if that communication is with someone not only new to HR, but what if English is their second language? And in some cases, their third. So communication is highly important in my job, but it's also highly important in your classrooms. Is important whether you're a faculty member or a student, because your faculty they already know what they're teaching, right? They already know they know the answers to the test. So to them, it's not rocket science. A plus B equals C. But what we find in many of the classrooms is students don't ask questions, so they just nod like everybody else because they don't want to be the one to say, I don't get it, and then the communication is lost. So understanding, not just in the workforce, but also in the classroom, that if you don't understand, asking and asking and asking again, including myself, it helps. So that leads me to this. When I was younger, and someone asked me, well, what motivates you? Why do you want to, sorry guys, this microphone is very heavy on the back of my shirt. But why are you interested in working for human resources? At that time, it was all about the money. I wanted a job that paid the most money. As I got older though, I got paid a lot of money, but I wasn't happy with what I did. So it wasn't necessarily the money that was driving me. So I had to sit back and I had to really think about what are the motivating factors in my life. But then the worst part about the whole situation was I took my motivation and I placed it on someone else. Well, the reason why this person wants to work here is because it's for the money. That person could care less about the money. When you're 65, you already have your retirement. You're just looking to retire. You just want to finish, right? Or 75 or 85, depends on the age. However, if you're coming in from college, you just want to get into that role. It's not necessarily about the money that you make. I just want to be in the position where I can move up in a company in the job that I want. So as time went on, my motivation changed, and I would love to say that it's not about the money in my world, but money still plays a part. It's just not a large part of what motivates me. So when one studies the psychology of management, they study the psychology of the person. So in human resources, what we've learned to do is not just talk about what's important on paper, but that the interviews have changed. What made you apply to this job? What is it about Mesa Community College that makes you want to work here? Tell me something about yourself that's not on your resume. These are all questions that were never asked 20 years ago. Honestly, they just didn't think it was important. Nowadays, you have to remember that no matter what you do, whether it's school, whether it's a job, whether it's just having a regular conversation, understand that what motivates or the communication, no matter what it is, that conversation has to consist of not what I think is important, but what that other person is important, what that other person does, or how they feel is just as important as what I'm looking for. Okay? So now I get to have a little conversation about who I really am. So the conversation that Ed mentioned was not quite work related, but it was, right? We were talking about diversity, knowing the difference across various groups and various cultures. So I'm going to give you a situation. I was 21, a single parent. My first duty station ever was Yokota Air Force Base. Well, yeah, overseas. And that was Japan. And in America, they tell you, if you want a job, you firm handshake, you walk in and you're personable and you're not loud, but you're excited to be there, So I'm planning all these things and I'm like, I got this in the bag, right? Now, in Japan, there's no English written anywhere. It's all kanji. So find it and understand where you're going, because I was lost quite a bit the first couple of weeks. But I finally land because I'm going to teach English to the Japanese kids, and I'm so excited, right? So I go in, and their greeting is Ohayo gozaimasu, right? I cut everything in half because I'm me, I'm cool. I'm 21. Ohio. That just happens to be where I'm from too, but that's beside the point. So I say Ohio, they all look at me like I'm crazy, but they don't say anything. I'm loud, right? Nice to meet you, where you from? Hi, my name is Shanel. And they're just kind of like, oh, okay, Talk to the receptionist. Hey, do you speak English? Hi. Whole time, no one's saying a word. Finally, I sit down and I'm kind of dawdling and I'm like, man, this is easy. They like me. 21. That's how it works in America. Shake hands, firm handshake, right? They asked me the day before my interview, did I want an interpreter? Why? Everyone speaks English, right? They're hiring an English teacher to teach English. No, I'm good. So I walk into this room. The guy stands up. I stand up. I walk right around everybody else, and I shake his hand. Firm. My name is Shanel. Nice to meet you. Proceed to sit down. They have like green tea and little things to eat. No one sat down yet, mind you. I'm not paying any attention to that. I sit down, I grab the tea, I'm eating. I'm hungry, it was a long trip, right? So I'm gonna eat. So I'm eating, finally they sit down. The guy tells me, okay, so where's your interpreter? Right here. Like I'm the one looking for the job, so, me. He just shakes his head. He hands me his business card. I look at it. It's like, okay, and I put it in my back pocket. Slide my card over to him, right? Yeah, because I got this, right? They never called me back, by the way. just say that. But when I left there, I had this false sense of confidence. Like, man, I killed that. Like, it's good. Shook hands, drank their tea, which had no sugar. So, I was being polite. I ate their cookies. I was good. Not one callback. So, a couple of weeks later, I go to my friend Yasuko and I ask her, hey, I went to the person you recommended me to. I did everything I was supposed to do. I shook his hand. She was like, well, you did what? I shook his hand. Firm. She was like, okay. Walk me through step by step. Sure, not a problem. I get off the bus. I say hi to everybody, and she's just, whole time, she's just like, no. All wrong. That's how we do it in America. You're not in America. First time I was just like, yeah, but it's the same thing. Shake hands. Handed them my card. She was like, did you hand him your card? Well, no, kind of like, flung it down across the table. It's fine. So after that horrific experience, I had to grovel back because that was the only place Americans can teach English. And I really needed to learn Japanese, and the best way to learn Japanese is to teach English to the kids, right? After a long time, he called me back in. This time I came with an interpreter. I learned how to bow, because apparently that's important. You don't sit down until they sit down. You don't drink anything until they drink. You don't eat anything. You don't say what your name is. You just sit, you just stand there until they tell you what to do next. Now, people who know me know better. I don't function that way naturally. Like, I can't be told what to do, which is why I didn't, military didn't quite work out. But I had to learn that it's not necessarily about me, it's about them. I am in their culture, I'm in their country, and I need to do it their way. After a while, it became second nature, but the first, I'm telling you guys, that was probably the most humbling experience of my entire life, other than the fact that no one would talk to me in class for about a good 6 months, and that's probably because, I didn't speak their language. But it's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. But that's one country. I've traveled to several, right? But that was probably one of the most embarrassing ones. That and getting lost on the way back home and was on the train for 5.5 hours. But that's, again, another story for another time. But that's a country. What happens if you're in a workplace? I look at all you guys' faces, and this is what I face every day. So I'm older. I won't say how much older, but then I see there's younger, and there's different generations all in this class. So what happens when you're working with different generations? How does that work for you in a workplace, or even in a classroom? Because I was in a class where there was brand new graduates from high school, adults like myself coming back to school. I graduated at 17. I did not go back to college until I was 30. You can imagine the horror on my face, because they knew more than I did. My 2 employees, I have one that is older, and she does things differently. And I have millennial, somebody that has headphones in, check media, has to have, I don't even know how he functions. He does like 8 things all at one time. If it's not noisy enough, he won't do it. It's the weirdest thing. Where I have the other one who's like, I need peace and quiet. I need to do step by step, because this is how. So I had to learn, because I'm right in the middle. Like I need her to hurry up, and I need him to slow down. But what's interesting is his slowing down makes it worse for him. He needs that, what I call sporadic chaos. I can't function. Whereas she needs almost librarian quiet. We work in an office of several people. So the quiet, but she's grumpy. If it's not her way, if you skip a step. So I had to learn how to broaden my horizon. And when I speak with her, because this is how our conversations go in the morning. I'll say, hey, good morning. She'll say, good morning. And she has her keys in her hand. She's about to go to her cubicle. And I'm like, how was your weekend? And she's like, it was good. Whole time she's still backing up, going to her desk. And I'm like, did you do anything interesting? Yeah, I just really need to log on. Because in her world, 8 o'clock, it's time to work. We can talk about that on break. Where the other one comes in, usually 3 minutes late because he had to get his coffee, sits down at my desk no matter what I'm doing at that time, because it's me time. It's me. Good morning. Good morning. Let me tell you about my weekend. Well, I didn't ask yet. Well, this happened with my roommate. Mind you, I'm working. But he'll say, focus on me. I need you to know what happened. It's important. He will not function. He can't work until I say, how was your weekend? What did you do? Did you enjoy yourself? It's uncanny. So I had to learn how to not ask her and ask him. Do you know how complicated that is for me? But at the same time, it works for them. So keep in mind that the individuals that you're dealing with, again, if you're the one getting the attention, or if you're the one that needs the attention, then teach them how to communicate with you. However, understand that no matter who you're speaking with, you have to speak to them. I speak very fast. This is really hard for me to slow down and actually converse. And so in retrospect, I get frustrated when people talk to me like this. Good morning. How are you? I want them to, good morning. What can I do? What do you need? I was just saying good morning. Drives me crazy. But when I speak to them and I'm like, hey, how you going? It makes them really on edge. So then I have to say, good morning. How you doing? Right? So you almost have to mirror behavior. Okay? There's some unspoken rules. We'll talk a little bit. I won't bore you with all of the HR stuff, but just keep in mind, for every job, I don't know how I made that bigger, but anyway, for every job, there's a standard, there's compliances, there's guidelines, and knowing what those are, ensuring that they match up with the rules and the procedures. Everything is kind of like a crossword puzzle, right? So you start off with your standard, that's the foundation. There's compliance, depending on the company that you work for. The guidelines is a whole nother issue because of the compliance. These are the things you do that you cannot do. Do not go outside of compliance. But here's the guideline. So you can't color outside these lines either. So you have these two boxes, and let's not forget the rule, right? So you have this thing, and then you follow the policies and the procedures, and then make sure you don't violate the law. And then stay constant. You have to keep it consistent across the board. That's HR. So while everyone else is like, oh, HR? Yeah, that's hire, fire, benefits. No. That's just icing on the cake. That is all the ingredients that go into what I do every single day for everyone, give or take. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is unspoken rules. This is fun for me because I used to, and I know it's going to be really hard to believe, but at one of my Air Force bases that I used to work for, I didn't look exactly professional. I know it's hard to believe. But I had a tongue ring, nose ring. No, I didn't have a nose ring. I had a tongue ring. I had tattoos. And I kind of dressed the way I wanted to, right? It didn't matter that I was a front desk person. Didn't matter. They wanted me to be in a commercial. Not a problem. But I'm not taking my tongue ring off. Yes, the chief of the Air Force. That's great, but I'm not taking my tongue ring out. Yeah. So, that didn't go over well either. Guys, I'm a lot more obedient, kind of, sort of, in a roundabout way these days, but back then I was just completely different. So what I had to do was I had to learn how to mirror what I saw, right? Because I wasn't really good at reading people. When I say things like, well, I'm going to do it my way because that's just how I do it, I didn't pay attention to how that affected the person I was talking to, right? So, or if I'm having a conversation and they're completely glazed over, well, I'm still talking, so it doesn't matter. Right? So I had to learn that if they lean in, then I lean in. If they speak loudly, I speak loudly. If they speak quiet, as much as it pains me, I speak quiet, right? Again, if they speak slowly, so on and so forth. I was known to stand like this a lot, military, right? People told me that was intimidating. So then I had to stand like this, and that was intimidating. And then I stand like this, it all depends on who you're talking to and what you're doing. So ensure that you're mirroring whoever it is that you're speaking with. Priming, is there any painters in the room? I was about to say just one. So you know what I mean by priming, right? Oh, okay. So this happens before you ever have a conversation with anybody, right? So this is what you do. This painters prime the page before they ever apply paint. So when you're priming for a conversation, I used to never plan. Hey, Shanel, I need you to sit in on this, disciplinary action, and I just need you to make sure that you bring this, 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 and this. Well, I just show up. I'm sure whatever I need, I'll just get in the middle of a conversation. Do you know how disruptive it is if you have somebody getting a disciplinary action and they're in front of the door, but you have to say, oh, sorry, excuse me, let me get this page and let me get that page. I had to learn how to always be prepared for no matter what it is. Case in point, tonight. So it's one of those things where you have to ensure before you ever have a conversation with anybody that you yourself are prepared for what could potentially happen, what could potentially be said, and the outcome, good, bad, or indifferent. Another thing is maximizing or setting, the social exchange. This is something that you guys do all day on social media. My daughter is probably a social media whiz. I'm not. She had to show me how to do Skype. So it's one of those things where the communication, I always tell her that we've gained knowledge, but we've lost wisdom. Those soft skills like talking to one another on the phone. I don't want a text message. And so if you text me longer than 2 sentences, guaranteed I'm not reading it, because you could have picked up a phone and left me a message, right? But in this generation, it's like, no, let me tell you about my day. So today I had this and today I had that, and then I've stopped reading it already. Pick up a phone and call me. But then again, like back in my day, at the risk of sounding really old, you couldn't email a person and say, I'm not coming in. You pick up a phone, right? Right, you pick up a phone. Hey, sorry, this is Shanel, not feeling well. Nowadays, the rules are simple. If you can't call me, text me. I don't want to text at 3 a.m. Just call me. Or email me. Or call the front desk. That's 4 different options to call off work. That's just too many choices. Call me. But I've learned that I have to bend so I don't have to break. So nowadays, the social media has taken the world by storm, and apparently I just feel like we've lost that interchanging, communicative things. It's really sad, but that's the mom in me. I digress. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is Italy. Italy was probably my second best place to ever live, right? Food, yes. Beautiful, yeah. You can go skiing at Piancavallo Mountains on Sunday and be on the beach on Wednesday. They had crystal, they had food, they had Rome, right? There was Venice, and there was, don't go to, well, no, I can't tell you that. But I'm just saying there's a lot of places in Italy that I absolutely loved. But let's talk a little bit about the differences between Italian communication, American communication. Now, I told you all the things I did wrong in Japan. Well, not all, but an example of what I did wrong in Japan. Italy's different. So I am invited to come to an event where I'm a public speaker, and the guy there is the president, his wife. There are 2 sons, and I want to say their cousin was small, little kid. First thing, there's always a reason to drink in Italy, just so you know. Wine is cheaper than water. Just so we're clear, okay? So first thing you do before you talk about anything, you drink. Okay, couple hours later, because you eat and then you drink, and then you eat and then you drink and then you eat. After that, these same guys who, mind you, his wife. Oh, Shanel, you're so beautiful. Oh, hug me. Wait a minute. That's your wife. She's like, No, that's not okay. In America, that's not okay. I wish my husband would, right? Probably why I'm not married now, but I'm just saying. In Italy, it's natural for them to scream, oh, molto bella, like you're beautiful. They'll come running down. I was at a club, side note. I'm at a club. Has anyone seen, let me get it together, Night at the Roxbury? Anyone? Okay. So there's this scene at Night at the Roxbury where the woman is dancing by herself. And all of a sudden, these 2 guys show up, and they're so tight on her that she can't move. Like, she literally can't move, except in the direction that they're making her go. Add 4 more guys, and that's Italy. Okay? Yeah. So I'm standing there like, oh my gosh, this is not right. This is harassment in every form of the word. No, because after the song ended, they thank you and they go about their business. That's all they want. They just want to dance. So I'm like, okay. So I go back to get back to the story. He's hugging on me. His sons come over and he was like, one's got his arm around me, the other one's rubbing my leg, and I'm extremely uncomfortable, right? And I'm kind of like, well, this is, so, nah, yeah, I don't mind the job, no, this is good. It took me a very long time to understand that that's just not them, that's all of them. It's just how they are. They're touchy-feely, and back then I was not. I'm a hugger now, but I wasn't a hugger then, right? Put that same scenario in America. Just a wife and a husband sitting at your desk and somebody leaning over your desk and rubbing your shoulder, that's regular in Italy. Because to them, that's really comfort. That's not, hey, I want to take you out later on tonight. That's just, hey, how you doing? How was your weekend? Here, that's harassment. But take an Italian who just got a job in America and put him in the workplace. If no one explains to him that that's harassment, could we really be upset? Women are like, absolutely we can, right? So that's where HR comes in. We have to tell them, hey, so let them gesticulate freely, give them 50 feet, right? But to them, they don't understand it because they're just trying to talk to you. This is how we do in Italy. So like they told me in Japan, you're no longer in Italy. You're in America. So keep in mind that when you have a diverse population, you have to also keep in mind of the culture that they were born in. A lot of things that we think are just understood is not understood to everyone, right? So I kind of love the fact that I lived so many different places because it allowed me to see things from a different lens. So when people are like, well, I can't believe you let them get away with that, to me, they were just having a conversation. I even let my grandkids and my kids when they were younger tell me, Mom, I'm mad at you. Okay. Just be mad in your room. Like, I don't have to see it, right? You'll never get in trouble for telling me how you feel, respectfully. And then I'll tell you what to do next. I'm mad at you, great. You can be mad. Just be mad over there. Right? So that's my Italian story. I figured that was probably the easiest one to explain. But again, when you're dealing with the psychology of a person, you're talking about the behavior of the person. So in human resources back then, we never had to worry about those things. Psychology is brand new. I think they said it's like 50 years introduced or something. I might have had that all wrong. That's why I don't have stats. Just saying. But I do think that it's important now because I can't understand why you act the way you act or why you say the things you say or where you've been. Can I really blame you for being frustrated or upset? Before I go any further with my presentation, I have a little surprise for you. I didn't tell anyone she was coming. Her name is Jody, and that's all I'm going to say. I'll let her introduce herself. But she's going to talk to you a little bit about perceptions because I think perceptions play a huge part when it comes to psychology. So, without further ado, this is Jody.
All right, perception. Perception. Let me introduce myself a little bit before I go on to this because my job right now is to kind of get in your heads and play a little bit. If I could ask you all, and I know some of you have computers and there was a beautiful little baby in here that's gone, to stand up for a second, I would appreciate it. If you don't want to, hey, that's okay. Take a deep breath, stretch your arms for a minute. This is just buying me time. This is the couple minutes less I have to talk. Just kidding. Yes, stretch. Now sit down and relax. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to flex some power. Perception. Okay. My name is Jody DeSimone. And if someone was to introduce me, I don't need this, it would go something like this. Excuse the third party voice, but it would kind of be like, by the time she was 5 years old, she had traveled halfway around the world. She was Tiny Miss America. She was a beauty queen. She remembers London, the biggest toy store in the world. Somewhere in Puerto Rico had, what are they called? Fish that eat people? Piranhas. And double-decker buses. Big Ben, double-decker buses, things like that. Fast forward to 7th grade, she started her own business, her first business. It was a baseball card shop. Her and her best friend had an idea to do this, and Jody wrote up a business plan, gave it to her best friend's father, who they had a little extra money, a little more than she did growing up. And he approved the business plan, funded the baseball card shop. It got off the ground. Jody bought her friend out, and that was her first successful business. Now, she was raised by an entrepreneur, so she had a little of that in her blood. She's since owned 5 businesses, has one advertising agency running right now and another company about to launch that's offering a new product that's going to be exciting. So after this, you'll all have to get in touch because I will let you all know. See how I'm switching voices there? Totally unprofessional. That's just who I am, though. But not unprofessional. I'm not unprofessional. That's just who I am as far as perception, right? Smile behind me, Shanel. Anyway, so then you fast forward and I get my first degree in graphic design, my second degree in advertising, my MBA from GCU, which I'm assuming there might be some students here. Currently getting my doctorate. I was invited to test into Mensa at a very young age. I don't believe in intelligent tests, honestly, so I have zero interest in it, but I do have immense respect for people who have done things like that with themselves and or value that kind of accolade. I also finished my doctorate at GCU, and I'm a mother of a beautiful 4-year-old. So why I tell you all of this is because when it comes to perception, and I'm standing up here, the hair, the heels, the outfit, some of you might say, maybe one day I want to be on stage and talk in front of a room full of people. Maybe it's as simple as, God, her hair is long. I wish my hair was long. It could just be those simple thoughts. It could be that you just respect me because I'm up here and I maybe have an air of confidence about me, or maybe I seem carefree, or whatever it is. We all have a perception, and we don't realize every single day in work, in home, in life, in love, in every communication, we box people somehow. We may not mean to. We may mean to be open-minded, kind, gentle human beings, but we all have notions based on how we were raised, where we were raised, the culture we're in, the age we are, our own life experiences at home. Any of that can play into it. And every single time I talk to people about this, I get this little part where later on someone comes up to me and is like, I didn't realize I did that. I've always prided myself on being honest. I've always prided myself on, being accepting and open-minded. And you think you are, and you're well-intended in being so. But that's not always the case. So you all will listen to me talk a little bit about my background. And now I'm going to tell you a story that happened today. I went to Banana Republic, bought this jacket, 40% off. I walk in the store, this woman, here I am categorizing her, mid-50s. She's working in the store and she immediately comes up to me, singles me out, and can I help you with anything? And I'm like, I got this, I'm okay. And I had my friend with me and my son with me. And I'm like, no, I'm okay. 2 minutes goes by. Do you need any help yet? Nope, I'm good, thanks. Another 2 minutes. And then I start feeling like I have a shadow. This woman is following me around the store. Like, what's going on? This isn't the first time this has happened to me. I either get, you look really familiar. Okay. And it's this look people get when they walk up to me. I'm like, you don't know me. I'm not being a jerk, but you just don't know me. But she just kept following me. And then I realized, this is what's going on. She either thinks I don't have the money to be in here, or I'm going to steal something. And while I'm saying this to all of you, you're looking at me going, why? Why would you go there? Like, what is your life experience that takes you to a spot where you think that it might be something negative? Well, she eventually comes up to me, and really this happened in like 6 or 7 minutes, and she says, do you have a job interview today? Is that what you're doing? I was like, no, I own a company. I'm speaking in front of a group of people, and her posture changes because suddenly I have money. I'm an honest person, I'm capable, and then everything changes. I've got her, I've got another person, they're opening a room for me, they're putting clothes in it, they're talking to me, making eye contact. Everything changed. It was just because I had money, and at this point I had changed her perspective of me, because what she did, which you all did in a certain way without even knowing it, was she looked at me. She didn't listen. 90% of what we do is based on what we see. The other 10% is usually what we hear, because that validates what we're seeing, right? And when things start to not make sense, like you guys might be saying, why would she judge you? Well, hold on. Let me show you how I look when I walk in a store. kind of more like this, okay? So when I walked in the store today, she decided I wasn't professional. She had to watch me. Her cultural experience was that I was up to something, probably the tattoos, maybe the attitude, because I kind of carry one when I'm walking around. It's been hell trying to be a girl today. I love being a woman, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love being a woman. And I was fired from one job one time. My girlfriend brought me flowers at work. I was their #1 seller. She brought me flowers. By the end of the day, they called me in the office and they let me go. And I said to the woman, "Are you letting me go because I'm gay? Or are you letting me go because I've done something wrong? Because I'd like to improve whatever I've done wrong, right?" She starts crying. I'm trying to be empathetic. "I'm so sorry you still have a job. I'm sorry you have to fire me today. And I'm really sorry you're gonna have to be honest with me before I leave this office about what it's about. I'm not gonna sue you. I'm not gonna cause a problem. I just wanna know." Well, today, the corporate manager, corporate director came in, making sure my zipper's up. And hey, those things happen. And the corporate manager came in and he was here when your girlfriend brought you flowers. And we're a very Christian-based company. Now, I respect all religions. I have my own, I have a God, I believe in a higher power, and one, in fact, that saved my life. And so I sit there and I look at her and she's crying and I'm like, "You are firing me. I just want you to look at me because this is your role. This is your job at this company." She was HR. "You're firing me because I have a girlfriend. You don't know if I'm gay or not. You don't even know that I'm gay. I've come in here with multiple friends. On my birthday, I had gifts delivered from my mom sent flowers and all these other things. And all of a sudden, something clicked in my head and I was like, you don't even know who I am. You've never asked me. We don't communicate outside of work. I've made you probably $80,000 this year. You're firing me because you think I'm gay, because he said I was, because I got flowers from a girl who walked in and handed them to me." And it was true. That was the truth. I mean, it was my girlfriend. But that's what I mean. When you guys go into the workplace, and half of you have already worked, I'm certain you're working to go to school or get through school or whatever the case. Even in life and love and all of it, you have to think for a second. You didn't even know that you had accepted me one way. Because it was okay. It wasn't like I was challenging you at all. I was in a suit. I had long hair, hot long hair. I've been wearing that thing for 4 hours. I left the house today. My son says, I do have a 4-year-old. He says, "Bye, beautiful." Yeah, right? So, and then I get here. Shanel's grandkids are here, and the little one says, "Who are you?" And I was like, "You were at my house playing with my son 2 days ago, right?" "You're a girl." Yep, I'm a girl. And like I said, I do love being a woman. I'm a tomboy. I work out. I take care of myself. But the thing is we don't even realize where our thoughts take us. And when you're going into a position, and that is almost a position of power, because even if you're not technically higher, you're in a position to make decisions that influence other people's lives. And so the whole reason I even got up on the stage today was just to remind you, it's not always as simple as it seems. Ask questions and ask yourself why you're making a decision in the workplace. Why? What is it about someone that's irritating you? Is it your own issue? Is it a self-reflection? Are they really a benefit to the company or not? Start to ask questions about what they do and how they do it, not how they look, not their sense of humor, not that they're on time and it's so annoying that they always need to, have someone praise them, because actually those turn out to be some of the most incredible workers. I've hired people not only in the US, all over the world, and some of the hardest, most loyal, dedicated people, it had nothing to do with their personality. They had a family they wanted to feed. It was that simple. They worked hard because they wanted to keep their job. They actually loved what they were doing. That's always a perk. I would say you get 2 out of 3 of these things. You make a lot of money, you love the people you work with, or you love what you do. If you get 2 out of the 3 of those things in life, in career, you're solid. So think before you act, and take your job seriously, because sometimes you're really making a choice about someone else's future based on your own stuff. And if it's your own stuff, just sit for a second and take a deep breath. You can click me. Oh yeah, hey, there's another slide. Boop. Here we go. This is me. Tiny Miss America on the left. I was the Youngest? No, I lie. I wasn't the youngest. I was 32 when that happened. I'm 42 now. I even get age discrimination in reverse. It's a thing, I swear. I'm always carded, you know, I'm trying to hurry and I get stopped and carded. I was the most sponsored female MMA fighter 10 years ago. I had one fight. It happened to go really well. The girl was knocked out in 27 seconds and hit 16 times, and I got packages from all around the world instantly. And this is my son, Venice. He's Italian. And then that's me, just living, loving life. It's not that hard to do. I'm kind of a glass half full person. If I really dove into my past, I would tell you guys things like, I came from an abusive home. You're gonna buy all of this now. All of this makes sense, because look at me. I'm hard, I'm tattooed, I've got an attitude, and I'm gay. So, it's true. So I came from a broken home. My parents split up. I'm gonna make this quick, and then I'm gonna give it to you to give your perspective. My parents split up. My two older brothers stayed with my dad. I stayed with my mom. My mom was broke. I never went without food. I didn't realize we didn't have money till I got older, but I've had a job my entire life, hence the opening a company in 7th grade and things like that. My father was extremely abusive. He didn't hit me. Another weirdly reversed psychology thing where I watched the rest of my family get abused and wondered, what's wrong with me? Why doesn't he hit me? Which is weird, because it's kind of like a weird survivor guilt. And I obviously survived that. My father, who at one point in my life I would tell you was the scariest man on this planet. By the time I graduated high school, I was 19 years old, he got his heart broken from my stepmom. He put himself through about 7 years of counseling at that point, and he asked me to go out to lunch with him one day, and he started crying. And he started being accountable, and he started talking about himself, and he started to love himself. And he started to talk about his secrets and how he was abused, and the cycle, and the cycle, and the cycle. And I went from fearing this man, the guy could just be like, Jody, and I'd be like, yes, what do you need? I was just, my dad would say anything, and I was there in 2 seconds ready to go because I was so afraid of him. And he turned into a... You're good. No, I know, it was beeping at me. He turned into a really kind man. He has a temper, he's Italian, and maybe that's not a cultural thing, I don't know. But if all he has is a temper left, he's apologized, he's made up for it, and he even tells me, I would have made the perfect son. Right? Right? Come on. He has 2 sons. Oh, he has 3, sorry, I have a half brother. It's horrible. He has another daughter too, but he's most proud of me in the simplest way he can be. Anyway, and so I got into athletics, I got into martial arts, and I found my way, and I took everything that had happened to me, and I reversed it to happen for me. So all those crappy things that I've heard people, and I absolutely respect and understand when people say, life has been hard, I just can't break through, everything always gets messed up, no matter what I try to do, A, B, and C happens. I've had panic attacks, I've had anxiety, I've been without money and somewhat without food. We relied on food banks when I was younger, which the irony in that is my dad is a millionaire. So he has plenty of money, none of which I've ever touched. But he comes from a long line of Italians. My grandfather was in the Italian mafia in LA. And when he passed, he left half of LA to my family. So I come from a really, really crazy cultural background. And the point of telling that is not to toot my own horn or to say, look what I've done. It's the fact that there are obstacles for every single one of us. Be it psychological, financial, capability-wise. Some people learn faster than others. Some people, it seems like they learn easier, but you don't actually know that they're putting in 10 hours at home while you're sleeping. They're still studying. We have these assumptions and these things, and so, glass half full again. My point is that, 1, pay attention to your own demons because they're probably influencing what you're doing with other people. And 2, there is absolutely nothing in the world that you cannot overcome. I've seen it, I've done it, I've watched people do it, and I'm gonna hand this mic back.
Okay. I was going to end it there, but apparently Jody found it very necessary to add my story to it. So mine will be very short because, prior to popular belief, I don't like talking about myself. But what I will do is say there's certain phases and certain things that you hear in your life, right? That if you're told it a lot of times, you have a tendency to believe them, right? So the 9th grade and the 10th grade of high school, I was voted, and yes, it's a real thing, as the ugliest girl in high school 2 years in a row. Seriously. My older sister was homecoming queen, prom queen. Her successor skipped me and went to my other sister, and then my other sister. I think it's sad because you can remember all the hurtful things people say to you throughout your life, right? So one of them was, your glasses are so thick I can see what you're thinking. Oh, your acne, gosh, I can play connected dots on your face. Yeah, I'm telling you, I can recite them all. Your hair is so short, we can roll it with rice. I can go on for days, right? So, I told myself at that point, for every insult or every bad thing anyone ever said or something that was done, I would mentally create what I call a brick, right? And I'd take the brick and I'd just sit it over there. I had enough bricks by high school, they were just, it was fine. So just to add insult to injury, I thought, as if I didn't get picked on enough, let's date a guy who had this ingenious idea to A, get me pregnant, because that's good, but then I'm going to rob Kentucky Fried Chicken and get locked up. So now I'm in the 12th grade, pregnant, and getting teased because, Colonel Sanders now has my, right? So the joke of being the woman pregnant by the chicken thief, I can go on for days, right? So I go through these whole things, and I'm building this brick pile mentally. I go home and tell my mother, you know what? Mom, everybody tells me I'm ugly. Am I ugly? Now, as a parent, what do you say to your kids when they ask you that? Right? No. Not my mom. No. What she said to me, and we laugh about it to this day, I love my mother. What she said to me, instead of saying, no, sweetheart, you're beautiful, she said, sit down, Tony, nickname. Let me tell you the story of the ugly duckling. All I heard was ugly duckling. I didn't hear the ending where the swan came. No. When she finished the story, I said, so I'm ugly is what you're saying. Right, right. So, okay, great. Thank you for that clarification. So, during this transition, I was emancipated at 14. My mother is legally blind, she's an epileptic, and I thought, well, if I'm already taking care of home, I can take care of myself on my own. Don't recommend it. Growing up old, I grew up way too fast, hence pregnant, 17. So then they started telling me I would be a statistic. Well, you're pregnant, you're from a small town in Warren where there's no malls, but there's 4 churches and cobblestone roads. You're just going to stay here for the rest of your life. You're never going to graduate, you're never going to do this, you're never going to do that. Brick, right? You're never going to make it out of here. Because in Warren, there's one way in and one way out. And usually when you're going out, it's either in a body bag or in handcuffs. It's never really because you chose to leave, right? So I would just build this brick, and I'll tell my mom, I'm leaving here. I'm getting out of here. She's like, oh, okay, babe. That's what they all say. Sure, you're leaving. I'm getting out of here, and I'm never coming back. I promise you I'm never coming back. Sure. Okay. So I graduated high school, the only one of my sisters to walk across the stage. I graduated with honors, and I did it a year early, right? Proud of myself, right? But then there's there's prom, and you're at home rocking this baby, and we're all going to prom. Okay, cool, brick. So as time evolved, and I'm not even going to go through all of those other things because there was a lot of bricks. What I chose to do with those mental bricks that I built was just create a whole new path for myself, right? It's important for you guys to realize people will always speak over what they think your life is going to turn out to be. Always, right? They're going to say, well, you're pregnant at 17. Oh, and just for good measure, a year later, I was pregnant at 18, same dad, same last name, all good, because he got out and went, anyway. Story for another day. So I decide, okay, I'm going to do the right thing and I'm going to get married. I was married, then divorced by the time my daughter was born. And then I decided, you know what? My favorite quote in the world, that resonates with me even to this day, is it's not what people call you. It's what you answer to, right? So you can tell me I'm going to be a statistic. You can tell me I'm the ugliest person in high school. You can tell me I'm not going to make it. That's okay. Well, as you can see, that first picture, it was rough at 17. Let me just put it out there. Holding my little one on the car, at 18, because by then there was 2 of them. And I decided that not only was I going to make it out of Ohio, I'm going to make it out the country. I don't have to listen or see any of these people anymore. So I went to Japan, Korea, Germany, England, Italy, right? Never coming back. Well, never's a long time. I'm back. Yeah, I'm back. But during that time, I did this transition thing where when I came home to visit, that third picture, no one knew who I was. I went home to see my mom. Everyone's like, hey, Tony's back. And they're like, oh, where is she? I want to say hi. And I'm like, hi. No. My mom says, see, that's the ugly. No, that's not even real. My kids ask me if they're ugly. The answer is no, baby. You're beautiful. Let's practice. No. That's important, right? But it was important for me to understand that I am who I am because of who I say I am, not who everybody else says I am. Now, much like Jody, before I went to Japan, that was how I dressed. Tennis shoes, hat to the back. Yeah, nothing at all. Hat to the back, all that good stuff, right? But it's funny because no one takes me serious down there, right? And when I say down there, I mean like down here, right? So I learned to put on 6 inches because they take me serious up here, right? Or so they pretend to take me serious. So I just want you guys to understand something. Just like I never thought I would leave Warren until I said I could. Just like I never thought that not only would my kids be successful, but I have these beautiful grandkids. Oh, God, my heart. I'm 44. Not too shabby, right? But at the end of the day, it's two swords, right? Double-edged sword, right? Number one, don't take what people tell you, take what you need, and leave the rest. Because it's entirely up to you how your story ends. And the second part is, be careful what you say to other people, because some people will take that as their truth, right? Not everybody's strong enough to say, that's not true, that's not me, that's not who I am. So just guard your words, right? Last but not least, my number one saying to my kids, because, popularity is important, apparently. I wasn't, so I learned how to do without it. But to them, they're like, so-and-so said such and such about me. And I'm tired of such and such talking about me. So I'm going to tell you guys what I tell everybody else. If you don't want other people to write your story, just don't hand them the pen. It's really that easy.